my name is Nick, and here's a guide to beat the new map on Thronefall, Wildbach, specifically the achievement for 20,000 points. So the biggest challenge of this is that you're trying to get that high score. For this, I recommend using the Light Spear. It helps with giving you health and aggroing enemies to keep them away from your towers. And then for your perks, I recommend using Arcane Towers. It helps you to just get extra distance to reach past the walls. Then I use Castle Blueprints just to give everything extra health because we will not be having any units to protect us. And then Power Tower to help us in the early game as well as the late game. And then for the mutators, I recommend using the Wasp, which is going to help us actually fill up the shrines quicker in the early game. And then we will be using the God of Death as well as the No Unit mutator, just because that's a massive increase in XP, as well as they just get chewed through in the late game anyway. And then lastly, we'll be using the Growth God mutator because that also will help us get to that plus 200% bonus score. All right, so through this, I'll fast forward it, so it's pretty quick. But to start the game, I recommend starting with this shrine, which we can fill again because of that mutator, and then the harbor. That's going to allow us to get a lot of gold in the late game, which is huge because we're going to want to have the fully upgraded towers. Throughout this tutorial, you'll also notice that I do a lot of backwards fighting, sort of kiting style. That's helpful just to slow down the onslaught of them. It'll also be important that you make sure they die within the range of the shrine, so I focus on that a lot as well. And then here with the spiders, I'll also notice I get killed pretty quickly here. This is, suboptimal. I've run this numerous times where I've been able to keep all of the farms alive and not die, but it's also just proof that you can make some mistakes and still get this achievement. So next one here, you want to get the temple. It's only 2 costs, and otherwise this wave in particular will annihilate you. It's okay if you die a bunch on this one. All that really matters is you want to get clusters of them when that spell is coming through. So again, I did this probably suboptimally, but it's okay so long as you can make it through that 3rd wave. Things get a lot lighter at this point. So from here, I get that magic armor to make it so that I aggro additional enemies. And really the biggest challenge here is make sure that you get that shrine filled as quickly as possible. And then also you need to make sure the wave that's coming through on the bottom in just a moment here does not destroy the mine. So try and aggro them towards the shrine if you can. Again, I probably didn't do this perfectly, but so long as you can keep that shrine alive, you're totally fine. It does not matter if you die. All right, on this one, again, I do this very suboptimally. This is probably the worst wave that I did on this run. But again, you're really trying to focus on getting that shrine filled as quickly as possible. I like using the upgraded tower that causes your tower to fire faster the more shots it fires consecutively. This scales really well with the power tower upgrade that we selected at the beginning of the match because it's already going to be firing essentially 3 times as fast, so those two features scale together. But you see that I die here. You can absolutely run this where you don't die and you actually can keep this tower alive as well as the farm. So I lose a bit of gold here. I also, more importantly, lose score because a lower percentage of my realm was protected. So if you are having issues, that'll help. For this spider level, this is almost, this is a really gimme level. They're so terrible at chewing through buildings. So as long as you get that tower and wall on top with the shrine, you're totally protected there. And then at this point, I'm really focusing on just increasing my economy as much as possible. It's huge to get the forge upgrades when you can, but at this point, it's just not tenable to defend those locations. So from here, I really just focus on upgrading the farms, upgrading houses. And a secondary benefit of getting all these houses built is that anytime a wall or another structure gets destroyed, it also is going to be a smaller percentage of your total buildings. And that, again, is going to help with increasing the total amount of points that you get at the end of the level. So again, just kiting doesn't really matter here, but something you do want to keep in mind in addition to the percentage of your realm saved each night is how quickly you're able to kill these enemies. So always try and do that as quickly as possible to help your score, because getting 20,000 is not easy. So here I get that forge upgrade going. I recommend the damage one, so upgrading 20% damage, and then here, because this is a relatively easy wave to complete, I go really heavily on the economy buildings. And then here you're really just going to tank. So just make sure that you're standing in front of that tower is all that matters. If you had run this more optimally than I had, you would have extra money to potentially build another tower, but clearly you don't need to, because I was able to succeed with just those two. Again, bunker tower is good on this one because it's going to be constantly shooting. I'm not sure if maybe one of the other towers could be better, but I know that it works on this run. So still experimenting with those. And then this is also where the, I believe it's the magic tower perk, the one that gives them additional range, is beneficial, because if you do not select that, a lot of these towers are not going to be able to reach past your walls, even with the range sniper upgrade on them. So it's a really, really helpful perk to get at the beginning. And so I do this, again, very suboptimally. I believe I get wiped out pretty early here, or at least, yeah, they make it through my eastern walls pretty quickly here, destroy my farm. My big emphasis on this one was to not let the forge die. Getting that extra damage is super important in the late game, so even if I lose a little macro, I was okay with that. This is another pretty easy one to get through. So at this point, all my economy is essentially as built out as it can be, I believe. So now I just start focusing on building towers and ensuring that they have enough distance to get past the walls. And then I also go for the upgrade for my health, but honestly, that isn't the most important. I do continue to upgrade these houses just because I have the extra money and I'm confident that I'll be able to complete this wave. But if you are having a harder time with aggroing or dying quickly, feel free to upgrade your towers first. Your economy is pretty much where it needs to be at this point. So here I am pulling them away from the walls a little bit, but you can see it at this point, it's really the towers that are doing the damage. Your only real use as a warrior is to draw them away from the towers. All right, this one, they're probably going to chew through quite a bit of your economy here, since your walls won't be able to defend you. That's fine. At this point, you should really have most of your stuff upgraded. I would recommend, if at the early levels, if you were to lose that mine on wave 4, I believe, or something else were to happen, I recommend restarting early. Those early economic buildings are going to be, exponentially helpful in terms of getting gold later in the game. So at this point, you should be solid. It is really critical that you defend this western portion with the harbor, because if you count the harbor plus those houses, it's about, I believe, 18 or so gold every turn. So it's more important for that to survive than one of these farms, and that's why I put so much resources in defending it. One thing I could have been greedier about in this run through was I could have done more upgrades, and I think that would help me in the final round, which you'll see in a minute here. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to defend them against those air units, so I chose not to, because I didn't want to waste the money on them if the forges were just going to get destroyed. But on other runs, I have made the push to either increase damage or increase melee resistance more, and that's been pretty helpful. So again, just increasing the distance on these. Also, you're really going to want to focus on ballistas, I would say, more than anything. Have one tower in the front that's going to be capable of, taking a bunch of hits. Like I could have gone for one of the fire towers, might have been helpful for this round in particular. But to be honest, once you get to the late game with all the buffs that the enemies have, you really just want to be doing as much damage as possible. So I go heavy on ballistas, along with a sniper build. And then I do like to have, at each of the front walls, I have one of the towers set to the mode that targets the unit with the least amount of health. I think that's also really helpful, because if you just have snipers, you're only hitting the highest health units. And so even if you're getting units low, they're continuing to do damage until everything is low, and that's really ineffective for reducing the amount of damage that you're going to receive. So I go ballistas on pretty much all of them to end the game, but in those earlier rounds, it is important, I think, to get some of those low health killers. And then again, you'll notice I'm pretty much maxed out on economy, so just focusing on making sure all those towers are upgraded. One other big thing on this level, before I died really early, I upgraded the temple again. That's because I think the ice upgrade is massively important for this and the final level. And so if you get it upgraded to the 3rd level for the last wave, it just shoots extremely quickly. And that's a huge help when you're clearing that wave up top with something like, 70 spiders. So you also really want to defend, again, this West Harbor. If these flying minions get through, they can just eat through all of your ballistas, even though these ones behind walls, that'll continue to shoot. So I would focus on defending that area before upgrading any of the towers by your castle, just because if they make it to your castle, you're probably already doomed on that run anyway. And then over here, I opted to start by defending those bottom areas a little bit first. It might be more optimal to defend the top area first, but so long as you can keep kiting like I'm doing here, you should be fine. All right, so that is how you can defeat this. As you'll see in just a moment, we get the high score of over 20,000 with plenty of wiggle room. So I definitely didn't run this perfectly. I'm sure you can do it better than I did, but I hope this helps. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I'm happy to do what I can. Thanks, bye.